We're shooting the camera in the direction of the podium in the playground area at the downtown Champlain, village of Champlain. It's September 23rd, 2023, and we were supposed to be making a presentation here from the Clinton County, a couple of presentations. We're going to be either sitting in our car or I'm not quite sure. I don't think I can get far enough away from anybody to step outside my car. So we're going to try to cover this from here. Hopefully we won't have too many people standing between us and the podium. Village of Champlain celebrating its 150th anniversary, and as you can imagine, we were all excited and anticipating this for quite a while. But on Wednesday I tested positive for COVID, so I'm still within my 5 days of testing positive, so I'm supposed to be isolated, so I am isolated in my car and will not be getting outside to breathe on anybody, even though it's an outdoor event. You'd feel very bad if somebody got infected because we stepped outside. It's a very crowded area here today. A lot of booths are set up. It would have been an interesting little tour for us, I'm sure. There's fire department. There's I saw the Legion over that way, Russell's Point, Legion Post 912 over that way when we drove down. We're in that little circle on Maiden Lane here that comes from the end of Church Street and it heads down to the river and circles up back to Main Street or Route 9. So the program is supposed to start at 10. Hopefully we'll be able to hear it and might even be able to see it if we're lucky. You see the Mayor, Janet McFetridge, is here with a mask on. Or no longer a mask on. Well, you see our State Senator Dan Steck is here. We saw Billy Jones wandering in a little while ago. Our Assemblyman John Zerlo, our County Clerk, is supposed to be making a little history presentation, and we asked him to present the plaques from the county, one for the fire department and one for the village, both celebrating 150 years this year. This will probably be the worst ever coverage of an event that I have done in my 40 plus years of covering events. But I am here, and physically I feel just fine. Like I might have had a mild cold that I just got over with, and I'm feeling fine. But the protocol says to not be in crowds, not to mingle, to basically isolate. So I'm isolating here in my vehicle, and hopefully the people in front of me won't be chatting too much, and we'll be able to hear the speakers, and hopefully people in the back rows won't be standing between us and the podium, but that'll all remain to be seen at this point in time. It's slightly after 10, so it looks like Mayor McFetridge is ready to get this show on the road.
The national anthem of Canada and the national anthem of the United States will be sung by Kathy Davenport.
Okay, she's singing the "O Canada." Kathy Davenport. People are standing up in front of us, and I don't think we can get much audio. Well, we're gonna probably step outside here. And we're at least 25 feet away from anybody here, so that was the national anthem. Again, American Legion Post 912 Color Guard.
Thank you, Kathy. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by the Village Board Youth Liaison members, Holly Visconti and David LePage.
That was a pledge, and I am double masked and outdoors, so I'm taking good care of protocols. And again, at least 25 feet away from anybody.
Welcome. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you to the Sesquicentennial for the Village of Champlain. Happy 150th birthday, Village of Champlain. I would first like to introduce some elected officials and partners that we work very closely with. First, the Village of Champlain Board of Trustees. I couldn't do any of this work without them. Chuck Connor, Ray, Joe Herzog, Nikki Walensky, and Tom Wayne. The village employees who are truly the backbone of everything that has to be done to keep this village operating. Juanita Munoz, Mary Spring, Mike Jolliker, and our DPW crew, Robert Pulsifer, Jimmy Andrus, and Mike King. I know we have a couple of past mayor's here that would like to recognize. I believe Melissa McManus is here. And I know Greg Martin is here. And, wait. Oh, it's Jeff. Oh, I can't see Jeff. And Chapel
John
Corps
Combs
right
involved
there.
with any of these?
Sorry, Jeff, we're on
He's
my
at
list,
Goat
but to
Ship.
review.
Goat Ship.
From the Town of Champlain Board, I know Jason Borey is here, and the other
Right.
board members, I'm not sure, but I'm going to mention them, Brian Moore, Rick Hunter, and
He
Andy
is
Rochester.
very,
Town
step
of
grandson
Champlain
working for him
Supervisor
now.
Tom Trombley.
Graduated, and then before he got
Tom
out of
works
high school,
tirelessly to bring all
he
to the
was
table, for we know
on the
that
cusp
Zeus
of not
will
doing
one.
so well.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
on my way.
he's kind of riding on his
Assistant village to
freaking
the
laurels,
east.
more or less, you know.
Village of Rouse's Point. We may disagree about a score of a basketball game in 1950, but like all siblings,
His back
we have
was
each other's
swelling.
backs.
It's down, he picked that up. He gave
I'm not
me
sure if the town of Plattsburgh supervisor Michael Cashman is here. He said he was going to call today. I'll give him a shout out. Our Clinton County partners, Calvin Castine is not able to be here today, but he's our legislator and our favorite Jim.
She saw me when I drove in.
Kimberly Davis, Clinton County treasurer. And John Zerlo, our Clinton County clerk, and probably Champlain's most favorite son. Our New York State officials, Assemblyman Billy Jones, Senator Dan Steck,
grew up here in the village, and like many of you, this is a very special place, regardless of whether it's where we still live, but we never forget what we truly call home. So it's very special that this event is taking place, and we are all recognizing the fact that the village is having a birthday. And we like birthdays, don't we? So this speech I did not write, so I'm going to say that I am the deliverer of the message. But Anastasia has put together quite a lengthy history. So if you have any complaints, please forward them to the county historical office. But I will echo her sentiments here right at the beginning, where she says, "What a joy it is to be here to celebrate the village of Champlain's Sesquicentennial. From its incorporation on September 27, 1873, the village has served as an important part of Clinton County. Through their development of industry and education and devotion to religion and social justice movements, our village ancestors have created a very proud legacy for us to carry on. Now, of course, any discussion of the people who came before us need to begin with the first peoples who inhabited these shores prior to the arrival of Samuel de Champlain, for whom the lake, the town, and the village are named. Known as the father of New France, Champlain followed in the footsteps of Jacques Cartier, sailing all the way here in 1603 and preparing to follow the route of Cartier, which was opened in 1535. And so by 1608, he had returned to the valley of the St. Lawrence River, where he established Quebec and made his way up the Richelieu River and then into our lake. In these explorations, he sided with the various Native American groups that were found here to fight against another Native American group, the Iroquois, and paved the way for the European settlers to be here. And of course, in Quebec, and then eventually throughout the colony. And from my understanding, Champlain didn't actually put his name on all these things. The only thing he wanted his name on was the actual lake itself. As we take pride in this history, remembering Champlain and the names of our village, town, and lake in this region is immense. We also need to remember Champlain and his explorations and the monuments and commemorations that have happened. The Samuel de Champlain Monument at St. Mary's Church, for example, is a stunning representation of the manner in which Champlain's presence continues to loom over our area. It was erected as part of the 350th anniversary of the explorers' voyages, and the monument lets Champlain live in our imaginations. And so too does the Samuel de Champlain History Center, just right around the corner. Lovingly created to head up the quadricentennial, and now a major repository of the history of this village, its people, and its namesake. But as important as Champlain was, he was not the only person to have lived here and is notable. Indeed, the village was home to many whose stories are preserved through historical markers, photographs, and documents. Pliny Moore, considered to be the founder of the village, is one of these people. The Plattsburgh Sentinel in 1891 put his work in terms telling the tale of an 18-year-old boy who saw the borderland while moving southward with American forces. And on the return of peace, he fulfilled his promise, and we venture to say contributed more to any other person to the accomplishments of the ask of turning this vast wilderness that then stretched down to the shores of Lake Champlain into the fruitful field. J.W. Harkness, writing in 1913, explained that Moore's 40 lots of land and the Smith and Graves patent were scattered throughout the village, but were highly desirable. And by 1798, he had purchased additional lots, so that he owned all of the land which the village of Champlain now occupied, about as far to the Catholic cemetery northeast of the RR Depot, and he had three near neighbors, Louis Gosselin, John Lee, and Francois Menard, but each lived on a scant half-acre lot, which was owned by Pliny Moore, and all three of those lots were said to be on the highway to the grist mill. Harkness argued that Louis Gosselin is said to have built the first house in Champlain Village and may have been a squatter there before Pliny Moore actually showed up. Or he may have come with Moors, surveying part and built his log house to serve as a camp or place to cook provisions for the surveyors. Well, whatever the case, Moore soon began to erect mills and shops upon his property. And as soon as his sawmill was ready to furnish the lumber he created, he framed a house 40 feet long and 30 feet wide, or as large as a good-sized barn. We all know what a good barn looks like. This is the house identified by a historic marker that also recounts Pliny Moore's service in the Revolutionary War and his civil service as the first justice of the peace in Champlain, the justice of sessions, a commissioner appointed to build the Great Northern Turnpike, and judge of the Court of Common Pleas for Clinton County. In addition, he was the first president of the Clinton County Bible Society, formed by the Plattsburgh Academy, one of the original members and trustees of the Congregational Presbyterian Church of Champlain, and donor of the land for the cemetery and church. Importantly, though, Harkness, in his same telling, reminds us that Moore was not the only early settler of this place. And in fact, many sought refuge in the United States after the Revolutionary War. The Canadian and Nova Scotia Refuge Tract was created by New York state law in 1784, laying out lots of land to be settled by hundreds of French-Canadian refugees who had supported the American rebels and would have faced their repercussions had they stayed in their homes. Those French-Canadians, along with their English-speaking counterparts, were among those who created the village and the county. Although we don't always remember their names, we should never forget their contributions to our collective shared history. That so many important people go unremembered is one of the major disappointments that Anastasia writes is a historian, and as a social studies teacher, I would concur. How many women, for example, were influential in the history of this place, we may never know because it was never documented or recorded. We seldom know because stories are often left out of the official historical record. So Anastasia writes she's particularly glad then to be able to point out very important story of another Moore family honored by a historical marker on Church Street. In 2009, during the Quadricentennial ceremonies, there was a dedication in honor of both Noadiah and Caroline Moore. And in spirit, she'd like to think that the enslaved people who passed through their care. The Moores were ardent abolitionists dedicated to bringing an end to slavery. Upon using their home as a base for their activities, they sheltered the freedom seekers until they could help them cross the border into Canada. Working as part of the branch that has become known as the Champlain Line, the Moores worked with other local abolitionists like Stephen Keyes Smith, who in 1887 recalled that when the fugitive arrived in his house, they would come through the woods and be nearly famished. He would house and feed the enslaved people for a couple of days before they were taken to their last stop on the Underground Railroad, the Moore House, 7 miles south of the border. From there, Noadiah Moore would accompany the travelers to Canada and then help them find work. Noadiah Moore worked actively to counter the slave trade. As early as 1839, he spoke out in Creation on the Depravity of Time, chastising the proud Christian slaveholder for living in luxury, whipping from the back of the unresilient Africans. He continued to warn enslavers that the day would come when the poor and desperate Negro will arise and be greeted by the smiles of the benefactor Creator, while the slaveholders shall be humbled to the dust under their awful frown of displeasure. Beyond this early address, Moore was active in anti-slavery societies and conventions throughout New York State, and in 1843, he was elected vice president of the local anti-slavery society in Clinton County. Now his wife Caroline, who was also active in the abolitionist movement, and Melissa McManus, who is here today, described her work in Women of Wealth and Privilege in the 19th Century Champlain, the Moore and Nye family women, explaining that the missionary society Caroline Moore created and based out of her home made large contributions to Lewis Tappan, who was an abolitionist in New York City, and able to forward the money along to Mendi Mission in Sierra Leone, Africa. Established after the widely publicized mutiny of the enslaved Africans aboard the Amistad, the mission was founded to help support the newly freed Mendi people adjust to life back in Africa. Besides donations, Caroline's Society was known to meet and read prayers in anti-slavery publications while sewing. So I think that's a remarkable tale of one. How many others that are part of the history of this place, we're not sure of exactly their contributions because it wasn't recorded. In 2023, it is no doubt easier to understand just how significant this work was and how it contributed to the end of legalized slavery in the United States and changed the ways in which our laws recognize people of color. Still, it is important to note that the Underground Railroad helped approximately 100,000 enslaved people make their way to freedom, with some 40,000 crossing the border into Canada with the help of people like the Moors. It's a proud legacy we have here in Champlain. It seems that offering a place of refuge and a hand of assistance are long hallmarks of Champlain. From the refugee track to the Underground Railroad, local citizens have demonstrated a willingness to help those in need, and they have contributed to that. Whether offering food, winter gear, or legal advice, the people of the village have demonstrated a way to be good and helpful neighbors. The border itself is an important part of life in Champlain. Given how close it is, how could anything else be true? As someone who lives a bit south of here, that's not true, I just read her line, so Anastasia lives a little south of here, okay? I am always amazed at how much of our northern life is taken up with that border. Certain generations of ancestors, like so many French Canadians and Franco-Americans, crossed back and forth, working in mills, reuniting with family, or seeking a priest to complete a baptism or celebrate a marriage. And in the years since such crossings were common, many local citizens demonstrated their desire to be good neighbors, offering support in the form of fire brigades and ambulance squads, and in the provision of food, winter wear, and even legal advice to refugees and asylum seekers at the border. And of course, many local work at the border, serving Border Patrol agents, Homeland Security personnel, seeking to protect our country and our citizens. And so many of these people, as those within the village, have set to fight for freedom and independence abroad. We may not remember their names, but they're not forgotten. And without their contributions, though, we would not have the rich history and important history that we do. It would not have the legacy that it does that we're celebrating here 150 years later. We should remember all of these people, those sharing their stories of the past, writing down our own memories for future generations, preserving our photographs and letters. We can all begin that work. And she writes, believe me, your local historians want to hear from you if you have stories or photographs to share. Again, send everything to the Clinton County Historical Society. But we should also pay homage through moments of silence and reflection, here and at the local cemeteries where so many are now laid at rest. Whether at the burial grounds in Champlain, built on land donated by Plenty Moore, or in those that have since been created, we have physical reminders of people who came before us. We do not have to rely solely on formal written histories. I think I got it all. Okay, so she says there's so much more to say. No, there's not. I'm finished. But she reminds us, okay? She reminds us that nobody else wanted to listen any longer to anything she had to say. These are literally the words on the page. So, I thank Anastasia for putting this together, and I appreciate Mayor McFetridge letting me do this today for today's celebration. So, let's congratulate Champlain on 150 years old.
Thank you, Jason. You did a fine job.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention our partners in education from SUNY Plattsburgh. We have with us today President Inietti. Thank you very much. And we also have Allison Hurd, who is Vice President for, I'm going to get these words wrong here. No, wait. They're going to be out of order. Equity, inclusion, and diversity? No.
Yes, out of order, but perfect.
Thank you both for coming, and also we have some representatives from Clinton Community College as well. Next, John Zerlo is going to share a few memories from growing up in Champlain. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Mayor Patrick. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the village and also the fire department on their 150th anniversary. Mayor McPetrick's asked me to say a few words about growing up in the village of Champlain. Can y'all hear me? Is this working? Sometimes I can't remember what I did yesterday, and she wants me to remember what I did 75 years ago. But it was great growing up in the village of Champlain. And as I look at the audience, I see several people of my era, a couple of them a little older. Marshall and Beverly sitting there together, great friends with them all my life, and they probably could make a couple of comments as well. But I think I'd start off by talking about the school system. We had two schools in Champlain. Champlain Central is now defunct on Elm Street, and St. Mary's, which is long gone by the fire. St. Mary's was a high school, as well as Champlain Central, grades 1 through 12. We did not have a kindergarten back then. The schools were not flush with all kinds of positions. We didn't have a guidance counselor. We didn't have a psychologist. We did have a school nurse, Margaret Sippel, who lived part of her life right across the street there. If you were sick, Margaret took care of you. She even came to make home visits. The schools were, I'm not sure about St. Mary's, but at the public school which I attended, it was the first grade and the second grade by itself. The third grade and the fourth grade were in the same room, taught by one teacher. She would teach one side, give them some homework, go and teach on the other side. Fifth and sixth, that was Mary Dudley, by the way. She lived on Dudley Grove on the west part of the village. Then there was fifth and sixth, Claudia Lavoie, and then she taught one side, gave them some work to do, and then went on the other side. Seventh and eighth was Francis Moore, my boss. Again, seventh grade, one side, eighth grade, the other side. He also taught American history. Dan Meyer, who was the principal, he taught world history, and Dan taught American history. The school system was a little different. There were not as many teachers, of course. The graduating classes were only 9 or 10, sometimes 15. My class happened to be 10. By the way, I'm the only one surviving. Out of the 10. We did have teachers who taught math and science. So therefore, you couldn't teach all of the courses the same day. There just wasn't enough room. So what they would do is rotate the courses. One year they would teach intermediate algebra. The next year you would teach trigonometry. In the science department, one year you would teach biology. The next year you might teach chemistry. rotate. And that's the way the academics went. We had sports. The only sports teams were soccer in the fall, basketball in the winter, and baseball in the spring. If you were a girl, no sports at all. That came much later. Now we have as many girls' sports as we do boys. Back then, the only thing a girl could participate in was cheerleading. St. Mary's, again, had the same sports teams. It was quite a competition between the two schools. Each team wanted to win badly. Over the years, I would say half and half. St. Mary's used Champlain Central's athletic field because they did not have one. So you might say, well, yeah, they got a nice athletic field with a bazaar grounds on it. Now, it wasn't an athletic field when I was a young boy. If you think about that bazaar ground, and behind the booth, is a hill. That hill went right across the whole field, like a mountain. There was no athletic field there at all. In the late 50s and early 60s, when the Northway was being built through Champlain, they needed dirt. St. Mary's wanted an athletic field. So they got together, bought the big ukes and bulldozers, and they cleaned that right out. Northway put some dirt and he built the road. And then St. Mary's had an athletic field. The nuns taught at St. Mary's, and of course, Champlain Central, there were men and women. There were no frills, as I said before. No guidance counselor. If you wanted to go to college, you wrote to the college, asked for a catalog and an application, and you submitted it yourself. Of course, it's not as gruesome and tough as it is today. Today you got to have an interview, you got to write a big report, and do all that. But we didn't have to do any of that. Submitted an application. Things were a little different too regarding college. If you went to college today, you would visit 7 or 8 colleges. Your father and mother would have to take time off and take you to all these different schools. Well, when I went to college, that was 1956, those of you who are wondering. I arrived at my college the day I enrolled. I had never seen it, never much heard about it. I did write for a catalog and I submitted my application. I wasn't on the grounds on the campus. My mother and father brought me the day I enrolled. I had a great career there. What else did I have? There were buses, but only 4. Today, you go by Champlain Central School, you can see hundreds of buses. There were only 4 buses back then. I can remember the bus drivers. Alphonse Deschamps, who had a store in Bougainville, and had 10 children. And I was telling Beverly earlier that one of the daughters, Ruby, died this past week. She was 96 years old. Deschamps were very close. Another bus driver was Amos LaValle, who had a farm on the end of the Ridge Road and the Valley Road on the corner. And there was Joe Fillon, who worked for Company Chevrolet on top of the hill. And there was Joe Baker, who had a small farm. And if you lived in the village, here, you had to walk to school. You couldn't ride on any of the buses. The buses were only for the township children. By the way, the buses also carted St. Mary's students as well. I remember after the competitions, basketball games, we would go to our respective restaurants. The public school children would go to Burke's restaurant, which was on the corner over here, and the St. Mary's students would go to Ma Dukey's, which is down the street this way. But we were all good friends. We were competitive, but we were very good friends. There was no youth activities back then. Today you have programs for children all summer long, soccer programs, hockey programs, basketball camps. We had none of that. What we had was Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Cub Scouts. And they were commission came after. I was about 14 or 15 years old when the youth commission came. And the youth commission offered summer baseball and swimming. As far as hockey is concerned, we played hockey. We played on the river right behind that fire pit. And at night, there would be big bonfires. We would enter the river by the KC Hall. The village back then was very self-sufficient. We had everything in this village. As Raymond said previously, all the nice buildings we had. And we lost a lot of them by fire. I'll tell you a few stories as I go through this. We had 3 food stores. Could you imagine 3 food stores? We had an IGA, a Grand Union, and AMP. We had 3 private stores. Girls, girls, Stone Havens, private store. When I was a young boy, I used to call it Flagons. I thought that's what it was. Flagons. But it was still Haven. Some of you remember Haven Foreman, Haven Burlington, Haven Sector. We had 3 hotels. Believe it? In this little village. We had the Champlain Hotel, the American Hotel, and the Savoy Hotel. And they also served meals. When my father came here in 1935 for employment reasons, he stayed at the Savoy Hotel until my mother came shortly after. They got married in 35. He came up shortly after. He stayed at the Savoy Hotel. And the proprietor of the hotel at that time was Mrs. Thompson. And he always remarked how well she took care of the fed up the food and made sure he roasted. Like the hungry dogs or whatever. There were also 4 bar rooms in Champlain. The American Hotel, the Champlain Hotel, the Savoy, and the Central Tavern. 4 gas stations. If I remember right, it was Edward's, John Lee Chevrolet, I know he's taken in the fountain up to the gas station up on the corner. We used to go to Perrysburg in the morning. We had a movie theater called the Lyceum, where the KFC building is now. We moved to the Quonset Park, Boston, we had a bowling alley, which is where the Guerrero Park is now. Run by Dave Roberts. We had 1 attorney. He had an office right across the street. Orville R. Dunn. We had a dentist, Dr. Luke. We had 2 doctors that were great. We had Dr. George Allen and Dr. Manatee. They made home visits. If he was sick, we called him up. They would go to their house with their visit. They had pills in there. They put them in a little envelope. The fee probably was $2. We had 2 hardware stores. Lewis Hardware, the cheapest way in the little, call it the little mall here. This corner, the corner of Bridges, that was full of stores, and one of them was a hardware store. Also, one in there was a variety store. Everyone remembers Margaret's variety store. She sold everything in that store. We had a laundry, Champlain Laundry and Cleaning. We had a car sales, Champlain Chevrolet, Chevrolet, and Rosemary. I said Champlain was a Friday at the city. Twice. The first mayor I remember as a young boy was Carson Strickland.
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to hear Mr. Zerlo because of the microphone and his proximity, and when somebody vehicle drives up, it's even worse.
Blaze buildings never be matched. They were unbelievable. By the way, he was my first landlord. When I got married, I lived in one of his apartment houses. And we used to light it out, pull the light in my son, to pay the rent. We paid $90 a month. We had apartments. a great time back in those days. It was rough and ready. There were stories about some of the older boys robbing outhouses when people were in them, moving them. Being pretty rough in the village. The fire department had to come out, I remember, and patrol the streets. I remember Sonny Babby was the fireman. I was probably 10 years old. And I was going up on the streets, trick or treating. And he grabbed hold of me. He said, "Who are you? What are you doing?" And he scared the life out of me. All I wanted to do was go up. And he let me go. But he was looking at some of the ruffians. Marshall is bad. If you haven't done that, you're welcome to make it. It was great growing up like that. We didn't have a lot of money to play with or to do with. We had to make our own fun. We had a ball game. I was on one, and I remember getting together with Ross's Point and playing against those together. Oh, Champlain, Ross's Point. And I was a catcher. And I walked to Ross's Point and walked back one day after the game, carrying all my catching gear on my shoulders. And I remember making the turn at the bridge, going left, and there was a Bert's restaurant right there in the corner. And I was so tired, I sat down on the step, caught my breath. I still have 3/4 of a mile to go. But as I said before, we walked to school. I don't know where Mary lived. She lived at the end of the village, but she was that's about a mile walking to elementary school. I did that in 30 below weather. That's another thing I remember. Is that we had 2 weeks, 3 years, we had 2 weeks straight of 30 below zero weather. And the street, Mary cut the slip across from our house. Wind blew so hard that every year they had to bring the people lower. Flats over like the road. All that taken up one car came through. Banks. So that's about it. It was a great time growing up. I enjoyed it immensely. And as Jason said, and Janet as well, it's your hometown. I lived here all my life, except for the last few years I moved out of the village to the township. But usually make it to the village pretty nice. So thank you, Janet, for having me. I hope I come back with some of the older people and some of the younger people know what we did when we were young.
Different circumstances, we could have gotten closer and heard him, but
Thanks, John. We are now going to have some proclamations and greetings. So I'm just going to announce the group and have you come forward and say a few words. First, we have the Champlain Knights of Columbus with Bruce West. Here he comes.
Bruce West, Knights of Columbus.
Our council's been here for about 71 years, so about half of the like someone said earlier, people who morning, everyone. See a nice crowd. For those of you who do not know me, Thomas Cromley, Supervisor of the Town of Champlain. Congratulations to the Village of Champlain on this momentous occasion of celebrating 150 years old. John, I can speak a little bit of history too, but not to the length of yours. So, I was born and raised in the town of Champlain, and my wife and I have lived here in this village for over 34 years. Kim has lived here in the village for all of her life. When we decided to raise our family here, it was because of the strong community values, the quiet, beautiful, historic neighborhoods. Not to date myself, but during my almost 50 years of adulthood, we have witnessed many ups and downs of our villages and our town. Although through every loss and every boom, the sense of community remains. Remains strong too. Our future is solid, and this is due to the members of the town board and the boards of both villages who are committed to growing this community economically. We who live here in the village of Champlain know that this strong community will endure, and many of you, maybe even myself, will celebrate the 175th anniversary next. So with that, the town board, Town of Champlain, present resolution number 31, commemorating the Sesquicentennial Village of Champlain. Whereas on September 3rd, 1873, an act of held for the incorporation of the village was incorporated, united in I, 37 names. Therefore, the Village of Champlain was officially incorporated by the state of New York on September 23rd, 1873. And whereas in 1873 the village board was comprised of the president and two trustees, later increased to 4 trustees, then around 1926 the title of president was changed to mayor. And whereas we commend the current board of trustees consisting of Mayor Janet McPeppers, trustees Kim Trombley, Charles Connor, Nikki Williamson, and Joe Herzog for their commitment to community. We must recognize the past mayors and trustees who were also responsible for the prosperity of this village. And whereas throughout the years, the village of Champlain is only district of the town of Champlain, there has been a renewed and constant mutual assistance and support between the two governing bodies. And whereas, throughout its 150 years, enduring many historical floods and fires, the village of Champlain remains committed to enhancing the quality of life for its residents, ensuring a safe and peaceful climate for individuals and families, while striving towards sustainable development. And therefore be it resolved that the present board of the town of Champlain does hereby congratulate and commend the board of trustees of the village of Champlain on this 23rd day of September 2023, the 150th anniversary. And therefore, be it further resolved that the town board does hereby express appreciation of the strong community spirit that exists within our municipality, and does hereby pledge its continued support and cooperative efforts for peace. And I think we'd be remiss not to recognize a couple other anniversaries. So the Champlain Fire Department also is celebrating 150 years this year in 2023, and also our endeared hometown cable, who has been doing this for 40 years, capturing these moments for history. Not sure what we'd do without them. Not sure how our predecessors got the message out. So thank you to all and congratulations.
But I think he wants to stay over there. Yes, Calvin's going to stay over there.
I have a resolution passed by the Clinton County Legislature, which was moved forward by your county legislator, Calvin Johnson. I don't know, was ill, doesn't want to get close to it. So Calvin asked me if I would read this, resolution that the county passed on the September 20th meeting. Commemorating the 150th anniversary of the Village of Champlain by Mrs. Castine, Henry, Desio, Paul, and Hughes. Whereas it is the intent of this legislative body to honor and commemorate the distinguished history which comprise the noble body of Clinton County. And whereas in accordance with such concern and in full accord with its long-standing tradition, the Clinton County Legislature is justly proud to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Village of Champlain, New York, to be celebrated on September 23rd, 2023, for the myriad of events. And whereas the Village of Champlain lies within the boundaries of the strip of Graves Back of 1785, which consisted of 11,600 acres of Lake Champlain wilderness. On May 23rd, 1788, Arnie Moore, together with Samuel Ashton, William Beaumont, Nathan Rogers, Joseph Rowe, and Caleb Thomas, began clearing land, creating roads, and building a sawmill. It was known as the North Shore on the River Prairie. By 1790, the town had grown to 37 families, totaling 149 people. And whereas the Village of Champlain is a rich history related to the War of 1812, the program has served great steps in the United States and Canada on a fair basis. American armies of 3,000 to 5,000 prisoners in the North Hampton War. More military activity occurred here than any other time in this county. And whereas on September 23rd, 1873, an election was held on the decision to incorporate the Village of Champlain. The village board consisted of President Country Hall and 3 trustees. John Bigelow was the first police chief, Stephen Waller, the first street commissioner, and Benjamin Moore, the first fire chief. The original village seal was adopted in 1873, bearing a replica of the coat of arms of Samuel de Champlain. And whereas the Village of Champlain has always been optimistic and vibrant, with hope and excitement, a truly charming community, there is a special comfort referred to the small village where the streets are named after familiar people and landmarks. Now therefore be it resolved, this legislative body pause in its deliberation to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Village of Champlain, New York. Recognize the significance of the role it continues to play in the life of the community of Clinton County, and to further resolve that a copy of this resolution, suitably engrossed, be transmitted to Janet McCutcheon, Mayor, Village of Champlain. This was seconded by Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Potiphar, Simmons, Secretary, Superior, and certified by County Administrator Michael P. Bell. You're going to hear more from me because you're tired of me. Again, the county legislator, Calvin Castine, has moved forward and asked the county legislature to pass a resolution commemorating the Champlain Fire Department on their 150th anniversary as well. Resolution 698 passed on September 20th, 2023. Commemorating the 150th anniversary of the Champlain Volunteer Fire Department, Iowa Hose Company Number 1. And Mr. Castine, Henry, Desio, Hughes, and Perry. Champlain Volunteer Fire Department, and Idaho's Company Number 1, have valiantly and responded to all types of fire emergencies and have won the praise and respect of the community which they serve. And whereas attendance such concerns have full accord with this long-standing tradition, the Clinton County Legislature is justly proud to commend the Clinton to Champlain Volunteer Fire Department, Idaho's Company Number 1, upon the occasion of its 150th anniversary. And whereas founded in 1873 by Bartland Nye, the Champlain Volunteer Fire Department was named after the first piece of equipment it owned, the Niagara Sailing Company, which remained in service in 1933. And whereas in 1976, the Champlain Rescue was formed to assist with fundraising for the department's rescue plans, and in 1999, it was voted Agency of the Year for outstanding quality care. And whereas in 2012, the Champlain Fire District was formed, including a long-standing relationship with the village and Champlain as the village operating fire district. Existing in a separate form of government, the fire district has full responsibility of the Champlain Fire Department to ensure adequate emergency services to the town and the village of Champlain. And whereas with the membership of dedicated firefighters and record of the Champlain Volunteer Fire Department, Idaho is number 1, is one to be thanked. For 24 hours a day, for 365 days a year, for 150 years, whenever the alarm sounded, these noble volunteers left their homes and much created their neighbors. Now therefore be it resolved that Clinton County Legislative College in its deliberation amend the Champlain Volunteer Fire Department, Idaho's Company Number 1, upon the occasion of celebrating their 150th anniversary. And be it resolved, a copy of this resolution will be enjoyed to transfer to the Champlain Volunteer Fire Department, Idaho's Company Number 1. Seconded by Mrs. Waldron, Mr. Henry Sexton, Auditor and you. And again, certified by Mike Luzerlo, County Administrator. Next Chris Andrew will come forward. Also, Chris, County Legislature will wish you best wishes on your new building. I hope it goes well. And we know that will serve the public well.
Next we have New York City Assemblyman Billy Jones.
It's an honor to be here, and anything I have in this proclamation has already been said. So that's one of the joys of going, I guess, in order. But certainly, it's an honor to be here, and I was just talking over there to Supervisor Trombley while Mr. Zerlo was talking about the history of this town. And we can talk about, and quite frankly, I grew up in Chateauguay as well, and I could just, those stories from our favorite sons I've heard over and over and over again, just different places and different people. So we have communities like this all over the North Country, and just to hear those stories brought me back. I live in, obviously, Chateauguay is a border town as well, so a lot of similarities between Champlain and where I grew up. And thank you for bringing us down memory lane, Mr. Zerlo. That was great. And I was thinking of how the mayor had said, and John had said there was structures here, and they're gone, much like my hometown as well. But it's the people. It's the people that make the difference. And those stories are about the people. And quite frankly, the characters, right? We all have good hometown characters that we talk about. And it's the people that keep making this village here in Champlain vibrant. They do the volunteering. Talk about the fire department. Actually, thank you for my challenge coin, Chris, because they're turning 150 years old but it's the people that continue to step up to the village of Champlain. They volunteer. The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, they do things over and over again to make this community what it is. And sure, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention all the structures and the buildings that we have lost. All of our towns do that, and the nostalgia behind them. But it continues to be the community spirit of the people that keeps places like my hometown and certainly the village of Champlain what it is today. And thank you, Mayor, and thank you everybody that's come out here today to celebrate. I see all the organizations, and what a beautiful, wonderful day you've had. I'm going to keep it short. Remember that, Dan? We're keeping it short so people can smell the food over there as well. And I'd be remiss as well to say we're going to have a lovely dedication for Clark here in a few minutes, and he was a good friend, and I miss him as well. And what a wonderful community person he was. So thank you very much for everything that you continue to do for this community, and congratulations. And I will only say that the Assembly State of New York proclamation in honor of the village of Champlain on the occasion of its 150th anniversary, I, Assemblyman D. Billy Jones, do hereby congratulate the village of Champlain on 150 prosperous years. Thank you so much for everything that you do for this community.
You're not building another wall again.
Yeah. Here's Senator Dan Stack.
Thanks, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. I too have nothing to add to certainly the history that we've heard about today, other than to say what a history it's been. You've been dealt your blows with flooding and fires, not unique to the community here, but you've had more than I think your share over the years. But you made a difference in the lives of thousands of people, starting back, before the country's founding, and certainly the War of 1812 played a major role in our own country's history. The Underground Railroad, and then to listen to the last 100 years that John Zerlo has personally experienced. Your favorite son, and I don't think any of us would deny that. But in seriousness, the differences that people have made here, taking care of one another, their communities, and as Billy pointed out, it's not unique in the North Country. It's something that makes, I think, our community special. But today is your day because it's not every day that a community celebrates their 150th anniversary. So, to the village of Champlain, I have a proclamation that just says at the end that I, New York State Senator Daniel G. Steck, am proud to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the village of Champlain, recognizing the significance of the role it continues to play in the life of communities in the state of New York, and be a further proclaim that a copy of this proclamation is transmitted to the village of Champlain. So again, congratulations, happy birthday. Here's to the next 150.
So, Allison Webanero from the Department of Labor on behalf of Governor Hochul.
Thank you, Mayor McFetters, and trustees and board members and residents and neighbors of Champlain. Thank you so much for the invitation today. It's an honor to be representing the governor on such a beautiful day at this momentous celebration of such an inspiring and resilient village history. The governor sends her regrets for not being able to attend today, and also her congratulations for 150 years and for continued growth and success as a community.
Jonathan Carmen, representing Congresswoman Elise Stefanik.
Allison and myself have the unenviable privilege of representing politicians who aren't here, so definitely is part. The Congresswoman wanted to make sure to recognize today's event, and so she has paused following she entered into the congressional record. Mr. Speaker, speaker. I arrived today to recognize the 150th anniversary of the Village of Champlain in Clinton County, New York. Champlain Township was one of the first municipalities in Clinton County when the county was created by the New York State Legislature on March 17, 1788. The town's earliest settlers were veterans of the Revolutionary War who had been granted tracts of land for their service to New York and their pledge in the United States. A majority of them French-Canadian families who had been denationalized for joining the war on the side of the colony. The village of Champlain was officially incorporated on September 23rd, 1873, followed by an additional election reaffirming the incorporation in 1875. Early industries in the village included a paper mill, brickyard, woodworking, and manufacturing, and multiple iron foundries, establishing the village as a commercial center. Restaurants, parks, and fairgrounds created an early sense of community and local culture, as did circulators such as the Herald of Freedom, an abolitionist publication and the first independent newspaper of the area. Sitting on the banks of the Great Chazy River, the scenic beauty of this historic village makes it a fixture of upstate New York. It continues to be a destination within the North Country, hosting many small businesses and a growing commercial sector. Visitors to the region will find the Champlain History Center, located on Elm Street, a valuable resource for understanding the unique history and culture of the village in the surrounding area. On behalf of New York's 21st Congressional District, I am honored to recognize and celebrate the 150-year legacy of the village of Champlain, New York. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik.
We will now have the dedication of the playground, so I'm going to ask Eagle Scout candidate David LePage to come.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for coming to celebrate the Sesquicentennial of Champlain. My name is David LePage, and I'm Eagle Scout candidate for Boy Scouts of 0842. Becoming an Eagle Scout is no easy task. Since its inception in 1912, only 2% of Boy Scouts have achieved the rank of Eagle. Eagle Scout candidates must complete 21 merit badges, learning life skills from first aid to cooking. An Eagle Scout candidate has to serve a leadership role in their troop to enhance their leadership skills. Scouts working towards Eagle have to work one-on-one with other scouts to teach them helpful skills. They have to give hours of time volunteering with local charities and businesses and having over 20 nights of camping. Their final task before becoming an Eagle Scout is to do a service project in their community. I spent a long time deciding what my Eagle Scout project would be, and I wanted to give back to the community that's raised me over the 16 years of my life. And I knew that once I heard about this project opportunity, that this was going to be one. Mr. Clark helped the North Country for decades. He was one of the first teachers at the local Clinton Community College when it opened in 1969. He taught physical education and first aid, but that wasn't all that he did for the Clinton Community College. He would teach students outdoor activities, and he would coach sports teams from college until he retired in 2006. But he continued to help the community until his passing in 2021. He officiated for local high school sports games and was the president of the Northern Youth Housing Board. And when you look around this park, you see many trees planted around. They vary in their types and their ages, but most of these trees were handpicked from the local woods by Mr. Bird. And more than that, he helped design the playground equipment, designed the ice rink that was held every winter here on the basketball court. There's nothing here that honors Mr. Bird for the work that he did in the village of Champlain. Over the course of 5 weeks, I raised over $2,500 in order to have the sign here in the village of the handicraft sign was designed in Milton, Vermont, and it was completed in Clinton, Connecticut. I couldn't have done this project alone, so I'd like to thank some people and businesses that helped me along the way. Premier Integrations, Community Bank, Champlain Peterbilt, American current scouts, leaders, and parents of the troop for volunteering their time, for helping through everything. I need also to thank my mom for being a big name and making sure I didn't Once again, thank you all for coming for my Eagle Scout project, Village Sesquicentennial, for the ceremony on the wall. I hope that you can enjoy the rest of today's event and activities being offered in the Village of Champlain.
Before we head over for the unveiling of the new sign, I would like to leave you with these thoughts. The Village of Champlain has had its ups and downs, but its strength has always been its people. Regardless of differences, we know how to pull together and support one another. In the words of Herman Melville, we cannot live only for ourselves. 1,000 fighters connect us with our fellow men and women. May we continue to flourish and thrive through the next century. Happy birthday, Village of Champlain. So we're going to go over for the unveiling of the sign. I will remind you that if you didn't get a program, we have some here. The rest of the schedule is on the back of the program. We have events all day. The morning is centered here. The afternoon events are at Little Park on River Street, so you can move over. Champlain Fire Department has food. That's by donation only. Please be generous. And a huge happy birthday to the Champlain Fire Department is coming.
Again, even though we're feeling good, we're still doing the protocol here. There's a new sign dedicating this park to the late Clark Hurdick, a good friend to all in the North Country, including myself, and the husband of Mayor Janet McFetridge. Passed away in early 2021. C. Hurdick Recreational Playground, Village of Champlain, Sesquicentennial, 1873 to 2023. So a very nice looking sign, very worthy dedication. Clark sure put in many hours to get this playground going, and he really dedicated to a lot of things. He worked hard on the Bob Ben Park. He worked hard in the former Falcon drugstore across the street here that's going to be habitable shortly in the coming months. Clark worked hard for his community, and nice that he's getting this recognition here on this 150th anniversary, I'll say it that way. So as we said, this will probably be the worst ever coverage of something that we've done in the last 40 plus years, but circumstances with the situation forcing me to stay isolated as much as possible from people, and being outdoors here with double mask and not coming in close contact. We feel we're okay, but we're going to get out of here and not mingle or talk to anyone. A nice job here done by the village, and it's just the beginning of the activities. They put together a very nice brochure. We'll quickly thumb through it as we back in our vehicle. There's the opening agenda here, and dedicated the playground to Clark Herdick. It shows the current board of trustees, the village staff, past presidents and mayors, complete list. A couple pages worth. It wasn't mentioned that Chuck, I don't know if it's mentioned that Chuck was the past mayor, also Chuck Connor. He's a village trustee currently. Jeff Moore, Greg Martin, and Melissa McManus were recognized. Past village clerks. And then the day's events here. Kids' activities start at 11, food sale, 11, cornhole tournament, ice cream social, music by all without the bass. And Billero Park. History Center is open from 10 to 3, that's why Celine wasn't here. Celine Paquette. Fire department displays, and that's a very nice program and a very nice eventful day here that we're not going to be able to take part in. So that's the way it was on this September 23rd, 2023, in beautiful downtown village of Champlain. I'm sorry we couldn't have done a better job, but circumstances are what they are. I feel fine, but protocol says I have to stay away from people after testing positive 5 days ago.